everybody. It is your girl, Sharrona Reaves, and you are listening to These Three Things podcast. This is my first episode of 2024. I'm not even going to try to give y'all no explanation as to where I've been, just because y'all don't really want to hear it. Life has just been lifing. I have been out here just really being made and being developed for this second phase of my life. And that is requiring a lot of me. It's good to be back to check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing. I will tell you guys, I have been recording. I've been recording episodes, but I am also the executive producer on a podcast that I do at my job. And so we've been developing that and putting that together. So that is kind of taken some of my time away from being able to focus on my own show on These Three Things podcast. So that's a little bit of that. Again, the holidays are always rough for me. For those of you who have been listeners of the show, you know that my baby sister, Latoria McKenzie, aka Toe, who was a school teacher in our hometown, middle school teacher, passed away from COVID at the age of 47 on Christmas Eve in 2021. This past Christmas marked her second year of being gone, and it's still hard, y'all. It's still hard. I still struggle. I try to focus on celebrating her life, but it's still tough. So the holidays is kind of like a wash. I'm probably not going to be recording through the holidays, maybe for some time. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how 2024 works. But again, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to have conversations. As I said, I have been recording. So just know that, like, I'm still working on these three things. It's just hard for me sometimes to sit down and do the work that I need to do on my end. Because again, y'all know I do it all myself. If you are a first-time listener to this podcast, you'll hear a lot of things and I'll refer to a lot of things. And if you want to hear about my amazing sister who is now with the Lord, you can go back and watch her episode. It's called My Sister Died from COVID-19. I can't remember what the title of her episode is, but you'll go back and see when you see my sister and you'll see COVID-19 on there somewhere, COVID, and learn about my sister and how she passed away and her beautiful life and also her tragic death. You can definitely hear about that. And then other episodes on my show, please feel free to go back and listen to. I also want to say thank you to those who have continued to listen to the show. I don't know if you guys are return listeners or if you're new listeners, just because I feel like when I go away for so long, I really don't expect for people to still listen to the show, but y'all show up and you listen. And so if you're a new listener to These Three Things podcast, thank you. I hope that you will stick with me in my inconsistency, because I know that I am, but I do other things outside of a podcast. And if you've ever done a podcast or have tried to do a podcast, you know that podcasting is a lot of work and it requires a lot of work. So I, appreciate all of those of you who are listening to the show, still listening to the show, or new listeners to the show. I'm always moved by the numbers that I look and see as far as listens to the show. So thank you guys. So I want to go ahead and get off in today's episode. This episode is about something that I can relate to on such a deep level that I was like, this wasn't even going to be the intro episode of me coming back to These Three Things podcast. I had a couple of other episodes that I was toying back and forth about which one I was going to release first, but I felt like I wanted to come back and address this because it's fresh, it's happening now, and it's something that just penetrates me on a deep level that I really want to address. Is the whole thing with Amanda Seales. And if you don't know who Amanda Seales is, you got to do your own homework today, because I can't fill all of y'all in on all of that. But a celebrity by the name of Amanda Seales, who is very outspoken. She speaks on a lot of different things. She speaks on political things. She speaks on relationships. She speaks on racial injustice. She speaks on you name it, anything that's happening that is relative to the Black community, to the world at large, when injustices are happening to people of all races. She speaks up about it. she recently posted on her Instagram page, and I think her TikTok too, but I saw it on Instagram, where she was saddened that she fights a lot for marginalized communities, black and brown people, and she never gets invited to the things that matter in our community, like the NAACP. She's never been invited to the NAACP awards. Essence recently had a luncheon for women, and she's never invited to that. She's never been invited to Black Girls Rock or Black Girls Magic. She hosted the BET Awards at her own home during COVID in 2020 and says that she's never even been invited to the BET Awards since. And she talked about how it bothered her that the community with which she fights for and gives effort to make changes and educate us on frontline things that we need to be aware about doesn't acknowledge her or invite her to things that directly are related to the Black community. And I'm always shocked. I don't know if I'm always shocked. I'm kind of used to it now. Hell, I'm 52. It's a lot of things I done seen at this point in my life. And so I went to the comments to read how people were responding, because when I saw her video of that, my heart hurt for her. Like, literally, I felt a feeling in my chest of just like deep sadness for how she might feel just as a person, to know that I fight hard, I go hard for my community, and they don't even recognize me. They don't even acknowledge me. And let me just say this. For those of you who do know who Amanda Seales is, Amanda is a lot. She is a lot. And there are days when life is lifing on my end and I'm overwhelmed with dealing with just everything on my plate. I have to scroll past Amanda, even when I know she's talking about something that I need to pay attention to, because I can't add that to my plate for today. Like, it's just too much for me for today. But I love her. I do. I love Amanda. I have so much respect for her. And I know she's brash sometimes. Her response and her delivery is emotional. It's powerful. It's passionate. It's angry sometimes. Like, she gives us a gamut of emotions, and she just keeps it real. Like, and I know I hate to throw that term out there, keeps it real, but she lets us see her, the depths of her, the vulnerability of her that a lot of people just aren't willing to put themselves out there in a way on social media, myself being included in that. And I respect her for that. I really do. I respect her for that. And I'm one of those type of people that I ride the Amanda Seales, the Tamika Mallory's, the Moniques, the Brittany Patnick Cunninghams, the Angela Rise, Tiffany Crosses, Joy Reeves, Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, Dr. Rayshawn Ray. Like, I mess with people like that. Like, those are my people. Those are people that have decided that they're going to be the truth tellers of our culture. Because I get that we all can't be. Like, some of us, we just in positions where if we trying to keep our families in good spaces, making good money, all of us can't reach the masses and say what we want to say and say it how we want to say it, and address political issues that affect the Black community, and address racial issues that affect the Black community, and address health disparities that affect the Black community. All of us can't do that. But there are people out here that are doing it for us, and I don't always see the support that we should be giving those people, knowing, well, I'm not in a position to do that because, I mean, I got a really good job and I'm not trying to lose my job. And I'm not saying that's me. I'm saying that that's how a lot of us out here feel, is that I'm not in a position to address these things openly and as publicly as maybe I would like to because of the position that I hold. While society gets uncomfortable with the way they move and the way that they do, and for those names that I just mentioned, if you don't know those people, go look them up. You know, feel free to go educate yourselves today on the names of those people that I just spoke. I ride for those people because, to me, in my opinion, those people are today's Martin Luther Kings, Malcolm X's, Shirley Chisholm's, Rosa Parks, John Lewis's, and Baynard Rustin's. They are out here organizing, speaking, marching, not accepting injustice, racism, inequality. They are trying to move the needle for our people. And I ride for people like that, even though their delivery might not be what you're comfortable with. Like, for example, let's talk about our girl Monique, or my girl Monique. I have seen and had so many conversations with friends and peers who just are so disgusted. Like when Monique first came out and she was calling out Oprah and Tyler Perry for all the things that, you know, they had done to her, the money that she had lost because she had contractually fulfilled her agreement, and they asked her to do something additional that they weren't going to pay her for and weren't going to monetize in a way that would have been beneficial for her to do it. And she'd already spent a lot of time away from her family. And so because she chose not to do it to promote the movie Precious, where she, you know, the movie where she won an Oscar, people kind of got mad at her and said that she was difficult to work with. And in the process of that, for someone who had just won an Oscar and should be like going up, right? Like you think when you win an Oscar, things are going to go up. More opportunities are coming in for you. That's the expectation, right? That's what we would all think. It went the opposite for her because two people with power said something negative about her when she wouldn't agree to do something that wasn't monetarily beneficial for her. And we can all say, you know, well, maybe it wasn't monetarily beneficial for her, but, you know, it was about the movie and maybe she should have put the movie first. Listen, even Beyonce said, fuck you, pay me. And we all love B. Like we think, you know, B can do no wrong. But even she is like, you know, pay me what you, and our girl Rihanna, pay me what you owe me. It's time out for wanting to do stuff out here free for people that doesn't benefit you in any way. And it could have benefited her to go overseas and to promote that movie, but she chose not to. Should that situation right there have been a reason to label this sister difficult? So now it's cost her millions of dollars that nobody else has said about Monique prior to that. Nobody else has said that Monique, and if you can show me on some writing, email it to me at these3thingspodcast@gmail.com and send me a clipping or a writing prior to that situation where people said that Monique was difficult. But two powerful people who are aware of the power that they have blackballed that girl. Cost her family millions. Talented sister. You know, she's a better actress to me than a comedian because I love Monique, but I can't deal with all that cussing that she does, you know, so I kind of like can only listen to it in you know, doses. I can only listen in doses, but, you know, and that's no knock to Monique because that's her thing and that's what she does. And some people don't mind, you know, all that cussing. I'm not trying to knock her. I'm just saying that for her to stand up and her husband to stand up the way that they are against giants, a lot of people like, Monique, you should just shut up. That's your fault. You opening your mouth. You should just be quiet. But what we don't understand, and I feel like a lot of times we don't see in our community, is that Monique may not see the benefits of what she's fighting for. She may be the person that will have to go down in flames and lose money, but she opening the door for somebody behind her. That sister leaving something that we can't yet see, but because she's calling it out and saying, hey, this ain't cool. This ain't, you know, like y'all, you know, can't just expect for people to do stuff and you're not paying them to do it. Like if I fulfilled a contractual agreement, but I don't want to go out and do extras because you don't really want to pay me or make it beneficial for me to leave my family, leave my young children, and come back out and promote something that I've already, all these other dates, showed up for and promoted. She may not actually get to reap the rewards, and I hope and I pray that she will. I hope that, you know, life will circle back and honor her and allow her to receive all that she should get and all that she has lost for speaking out the way that she has. But what she has done is that she has made a way and brought noise to something that's going to benefit another young sister behind her coming up, or a young man. And that is why I ride for her, because think about it. You out here and you at the prime of your profession, like you just won an Oscar and you're a comedian. Why go throw it all away when you can just do the Steve Harvey, keep your mouth shut, play the man's game, and collect your dollars? But if Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Shirley Chisholm, Rosa Parks, and the John Lewises of the world had just done that, where would we be? Where will we be, black folks? I'm interested to know. Cause somebody gotta be the first to be willing for things to change for the people coming behind them. And we don't like those people when they're doing it. Oh, but years down the road, when Monique is an old woman and black women in Hollywood are getting the dollars that they deserve, it will be because that sister spoke up and put her whole career on the line, and know that she lost a lot of money because her fight was right. And let me just show you how, because I want to get into as well the whole like factor. Like when people like you, what can happen for you versus when people don't necessarily like you, and how the like factor changes how we move out here as a society. When Taraji P. Henson came out and started talking about the injustices or the lack of, what's the word I'm trying to come up with? The lack of amenities that they were experiencing on the set of The Color Purple, like how their trailers were looking, how the food was looking. They weren't really serving them anything. It wasn't like if they were doing a predominantly white big budget film. It was not that type of rollout for all of the actors when they came to work every day. It was a lot of things that was bad, including the money wasn't that great. And a lot of people blame that on Oprah, but that really didn't have anything to do with Oprah. But a lot of people assume that it has something to do with Oprah because they're like, okay, Oprah, you're producing this thing. Like, why didn't you make sure that it was right? And I think that from my understandings and my readings is when Oprah was made aware of what was happening, she did step in and say, okay, no, we got to fix this. We got to make sure that, they get what they deserve. Like, they're fed food that, they want to eat, that is good for them, that we keep them nourished and make sure that they have the things that they need on the set. Well, when Taraji, whom we all love, we feel like she's a sister, from our neighborhood, spoke out and said how she felt. Oh, because we liked Taraji and we saw her crying and weeping and we saw her frustration. So since she came to us downtrodden and just hurt and devastated, we had compassion for her. And so now I'm scrolling through reading comments and I'm seeing all of these like, well, Monique said it first. Well, Monique tried to tell us. Now we want to go back and remember Monique. When Monique was talking about the injustices that black women and black actors and actresses face out in Hollywood and how the pay inequities are ridiculous, Taraji's talking about she ain't got a raise in the movie since Tyler Perry gave her one. She's still fighting for money. We can name tons of movies Taraji done went and acted her behind in. Another example of a person that I want to talk about Tamika D. Mallory. For those of us who were watching the news and paying attention to what was happening in 2020 and 2021, Tamika D. Mallory was on the front line of organizing a lot of marches. She was on the front line of organizing to fight the death of Breonna Taylor, like the death of George Floyd, calling America to the carpet about the racial injustice in this country. And it's so funny because last week I caught her and Amanda Seales on a live on Instagram. And they were talking about the backlash and all the things that Amanda had gotten since she made that post about feeling left out of her own community when she goes hard for her own community. And Tamika goes on to tell Amanda, like, I get it. She was like, at the height of everything that was happening, she said everybody was wanting to sign up and get on board with Until Freedom, which is the organization that she oversees and uses donations from their organization to help those who have been put in negative situations or dealing with injustice, or trying to help them get attorneys to help them or set up marches, and a plethora of things that she does with Until Freedom. She said when that all was happening, there was so many people that was, on board and wanted to be seen and wanted to be connected. She said, but as people started to go back to life and the world opened back up, there was some time in between George Floyd's death, Ahmaud Arbery's death, Breonna Taylor's death, who she fought to the bitter end to try to get those officers punished for what they did to Breonna Taylor and killing that young innocent woman, and getting justice for Breonna Taylor. She talks about how now as time has passed and she's continuing, she's still out there doing the work, showing up for people, showing up for injustices. She still really fully hasn't let go of the whole Breonna Taylor situation and trying to get justice for Breonna. She says now those same people who couldn't wait to take a picture with her and be on the front line with her because she's still out here in the field doing the work, kind of disassociates themselves and will reach out to her in private and say things like, I really support you, Tamika. I really support what you're doing. But, I can't be seen with you because who I work for in this situation and this might harm me. And, people will come to her in private and say, I support you, but openly and publicly won't because they're scared of losing. Scared of losing. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with being scared of losing. But again, I'm saying when we ostracize those people, if you're going to be scared of losing, somebody out here can't be scared if Black people are going to continue to advance in this country. And sometimes I feel like that's where my frustration as someone who has the heart of an Amanda and a Tamika, and I am very sensitive to racial injustice. I am very sensitive to that. I am very sensitive to inequality. I'm very sensitive to that. That stuff is in my DNA. This isn't something that I just picked up. I have always been this person. I have always been this passionate person. I have always been this person that hated to see people doing wrong. I don't care if it was someone that doesn't look like me, someone of another race. I have never really cared for injustice, period. But I find that so many of us are not okay with it either, but you're just not going to speak about it because you don't want your apple cart in life turned over and lose anything. And I get that. And I'm not judging anybody for that. There are only so many levels out there that I can go as well. Because I need to be able to take care of myself. I need to be able to live in life. And I get it. But what we cannot do, and this is, my frustration with us sometimes, is what we cannot do is turn our back on the people that are willing to do it. That are willing to keep things out there on the forefront. We can't turn our backs and not support and send monetary dollars to those who are willing to do it, even if it's not the way that we would do it, even if it's not the way that we would say it, even if they make us feel overwhelmed or exhausted with the approach with which they give it to us. Somebody got to do it. I feel like the Malcolms, the Martins, the Rosas, I feel like they gave their lives so that our parents could walk and so that we could run. And I'm not so sure what we're doing for the next generation. I'm not 100% sure what we're leaving for them. And I have personally said this to friends of mine when we're having conversations like what I'm sharing right now, is that I truly feel like that my generation has dropped the ball. Like we dropped the ball. Like Martin set our parents up to walk, and our parents did a great job of like pushing us to get educations and do better and to do better than them and to take things to the next level. And we took it and we ran with it. A lot of people in my generation are very educated. We got good jobs. We making good money. We're entrepreneurs, all the things, like all the things. But I feel like whereas the Amandas, the Tamikas, the Moniques, the Viola Davises, the Rayshawn Rays, and the Martins and the Malcolms and the Rosas and the John Lewis type people were out here doing it for us and ours. And from what I can see, For my generation, we doing it for me and mine. I'm not sure mentally if we're thinking about the generations that come behind us, if we're really even thinking about our own children. Because let's be clear, as black and brown folks and marginalized people in this country, just because you have doesn't mean that your children will have. And hopefully if you, whatever you got going in life, if you manage it right and you invest it right and all of those things, then hopefully your children will have. But let's just look at what's happening in society today. A lot of all the things that Martin fought for civil rights and equality, a lot of that stuff is being reversed, y'all. And we're not really doing anything about it because a lot of us are sitting up here with good jobs, making good money and thinking, hey, everything's going to be all right because I'm all right. But the only reason why we're all right is because of Martin and John Lewis and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks. And I could go on and on and on. Like, these are the names that, came to my mind as I was talking, but there's so many people that gave up their lives, black and white people, let me say that lost their lives for us to be in the position that we're in now. And I look around sometimes and I be thinking like, black folks, y'all feel like y'all did this on your own? You feel like you out here on your own? Like, you did this because you just so educated and you just so smart and you just so pretty and you just so handsome. Like, we feel like this is all us? That somebody didn't pave the way for us to get here? And my deeper thoughts on that is how this generation sees us. Because this generation, these young folks now, they have realized that we're scared. We don't have nothing to offer them because this is the generation that has grown up a full generation of seeing that these people not even really going to get out here in the streets and fight for the simple fact that we getting gunned down and killed at school. We sat here as a nation and allowed them to go to school terrified every day. Maybe they didn't speak that. Maybe they didn't say that. But having to go to school every day and thinking deep down in their heart, like, dang, I hope don't nobody come to school and shoot this mug up today. Looking at exit strategies, trying to figure out what I'm going to do if somebody come into school and shoot. Things I never had to consider as a student. So this generation has already looked at us and was like, they cowards. Like we're not following them. We're not listening to them. And I feel like that's the reason why we don't see the respect from them. Because there's so many examples that we've given this generation of not to trust us. Because we haven't shown that we value you. Regardless of your race, you should not ever have to go to school in the United States of America and worry about dying. And let me tell you how this generation, just last week at the University of Memphis, and I have a niece that's at University of Memphis. She's in her sophomore year. Shout out to my niece, Kennedy. Kyle Rittenhouse. If you don't know who he is, go do your homework on him, okay? Was invited to come and speak at the University of Memphis. Let me tell you something. Those students did not let that boy get a word out of his mouth. They ran him off campus crying. They wouldn't even let him speak. I don't know who agreed to or asked this young man to come to the University of Memphis, but the students were not going. Black students, white students, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, all showed up like, nah, you're not talking here. You out here murdering people and you get no time. Like, these people lost family members behind you taking it up on yourself to strap a gun on and go out in a protest and start shooting people out in open space and got off with it. And you think you're going to come here and tell us what? We're the generation that's grown up going to school terrified of people like you coming in and killing us. And now you're going to come here like you're a speaker of something? They weren't having it. I'm not so sure that my generation, I'm just keeping it a buck, would have let the man come and let him say what he had to say. And we would have just, those who didn't want to go, didn't go, and didn't support it. This school was like, nah, nothing out of your mouth we want to hear. Get off our campus. And sent him packing. And I respect them for that. there's this thing in our society that I call groupthink. It's like when Jada Pinkett Smith was ready to tell her story about all the things going on in her and Will's marriage, and Will slapping Chris Rock and all that was going on with that. Like, everybody was just piling on Jada. We knew about her affair with August Alsina, and her and Will talked about that on the show, and Will was looking all devastated the day that they had that red table talk and looking all sad in the face. And we're drawing our own conclusions out here in society and demonizing Jada. And Jada just needs to be quiet. And Jada just needs to do this. And Jada just needs to do that. And when that's happening, and most of this, I think, sometimes has to do with the fact that I'm a Libra, because Libras, we always can see both sides of every situation. We are never just a one-sided minded person where, oh, that's just true. Jada just need to be quiet. But I recognize that a lot of other people in this world are not people who ever consider, well, why would that person be doing all of this? Like, what would be the objective? To just go out here and destroy a man she's been with for as long as she's been with Will? I just want to destroy him. A lot of people I read, she hates him. But what would be her motivation for doing that? Like, what would be my motivation for publicly destroying my children's father? Maybe because I want to be free. Maybe because I just want to tell my story. Maybe because I've tried to live this Hollywood life that this man has wanted me to live, and I've taken a lot of hits to protect him that I didn't openly say because I thought I could handle it. But maybe now I just want to speak my piece on it and let y'all know me a little better. Let me know what I've been through, what I've had to overcome in areas of my life where I've had to grow. And Will is not the saint that y'all think he is. He was the one who wanted to keep our separation quiet and hide it and let y'all think that we were still together as a couple when we haven't been together in quite some time. But I want to be free. I want to be free to go out here and live my life. I don't want to hide under the cover of darkness and y'all's comments because he does. And when Will came out and spoke his piece and said what he had to say, everybody shut the heck up. And I'm just always so perplexed when I'm looking at the comments that everybody's thinking along, like nobody could consider Jada. Nobody could consider that sister's experience. Nobody could give like real thought to why would she just want to try to destroy this man? Like, why is that the motive? Like, what's happening with her? We don't even ask the question. And even women, which is really like, you ain't never been, some of y'all ain't never been in bad marriages. Some of y'all ain't never been in marriages where you really love somebody, but this person like wanted a life that you ain't realize you was signing up for, even though y'all might have talked about it. I'm just not a group thinker. And I'm going to be honest, it ain't really worked well for me. Because you group thinkers, y'all go out here and y'all move forward. Y'all don't ruffle no feathers. Y'all don't make nobody uncomfortable. Y'all go out here and keep the status quo in life. I don't know if this time that I got here on earth, I care about the status quo. I don't know if that's not me. I just ain't jumping on the bandwagon to believe everything I read without considering the person that's being bombarded with the negativity. If the people who fought for our rights, for our civil rights, for our rights to have, for all of us to have our good jobs and be entrepreneurs and educated with our degrees and PhDs and all the things, if they all just thought the same, where would we be? Which leads me to the second half of what I want to say next about the whole being liked. I alluded to it a little bit when I talked about how Monique told us for years, like, people ain't paying. People want you to do stuff for free out here when you black. They don't necessarily do that when you're not. But when you're black, they expect for you to go out here and do something for free. And sometimes it's your own people that expect you to go out here and do it for free. And when you don't, even your own people will blackball you and let you lose, or cause you to lose millions or mess with your money because, hey, they can. and they didn't appreciate how you handled something. But then when our girl Taraji came out and said it, and when Viola Davis, who we all love, who we know is just the mother of actresses, and I'm not even just gonna say black actresses, she's the mother, a mother. I put Meryl Streep up there as well because I have been a big Meryl Streep fan, and I have always liked the roles that Meryl plays. You know, Viola Davis is up there. She has spoke about it. We like Viola. We like Taraji. So we didn't treat those two the way we treated Monique, because the way we work in this society is that we got to like you if we're going to support you. And I don't necessarily know how I feel about that, because another sister who is speaking about it from her heart and how it's cost her, and speaking passionately about it, like a Monique or an Amanda or a Tamika. We're not going to listen to those sisters because of their delivery. But we'll listen to Viola and Taraji because their delivery makes us comfortable. It might not make us change. And we'll listen to it, but we'll, it ain't ruffling our feathers. I just don't know how black and brown and marginalized people in the world feel like that's ever going to create change, as long as we're making people feel comfortable under the guise of how much we like you. And this whole being liked thing, I have dealt with this my entire life. I am, by all intents and purposes, I'm a rebel. I am a rebel. I've been a rebel since I was a child. This is not something that I just went and, picked up something and said, yep, I'm going to choose rebel. It is in my DNA. It is how God has made me. And at this stage in my life, I accept it now. I accept that God didn't, he brought me here to be a table shaker. He didn't bring me here to be a group thinker. I have always had a mind of my own. If you don't believe me, ask my mother. I am the second child. I am the middle child of 3 girls. I came into the world and taught my older sister how to talk. I came here with something to say. And most of my life, it has gotten me in trouble. But to the depths of who I am as a person, it's always been to move my people forward. And I'm going to give y'all an example that didn't turn out well for me. But I'm at a point where it's years ago and I can share it. And I don't mind sharing it. When I was a coach, I told a kid to shut the fuck up one time. I know. I know. It was not my proudest moment. It was not. Because I am a mother. I am a divorced mother. And I was raising my kids while I was traveling the world coaching and recruiting other people's kids. I was raising my own. So in no universe do you ever want to come to a point where you tell a kid to shut the fuck up. But I want to give y'all some backstory. I'm not going to say what school. I'm not naming names. I'm just going to tell y'all the story. It was an ESPN game. It was a big game. And it was on the main channel, not 2 or U or any other of ESPN's channels. It was a big game on ESPN. And the head coach pulled a player out of the game. And the player comes off the floor, and she was a black player. She comes off the floor and she's upset because she didn't understand why she was coming out of the game. Like, she didn't understand why she got pulled out of the game. And she comes and she sits next to me on the bench. Now, I didn't get credit for this when I tried to explain it as to why it got to that point. Because, I don't know. I guess people don't look at, I don't know. I guess because they didn't want to receive that I thought that deep about it. But the player comes off the floor and she's pissed because she's out of the game and she's upset and she's emotional. And you know how, like, when you're watching a game and a player gets taken out of the game, the announcers might be talking about that player or whatever mistake that they just made that took them out of the game, and the camera's following that player to the bench. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, she's emotional right now. And I'm sure this camera has followed her to the bench and is sitting here watching her on national television, ESPN, like having a meltdown. And I didn't want that for her. Because I don't care what none of y'all say out here in today's landscape, when we're talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, we want to make a demon out of Angel because Angel is very outspoken, unapologetically. And Caitlin is a white girl who has scored more points than anybody since the NCAA started. So she's an angel. So we just make Caitlin just, be the best thing smoking, and we'll tolerate and we'll acknowledge Angel because, she is a good player and they did win a national championship and, she's got a lot of, brand deals and all this type of stuff. But I see, because I come from that world, little areas and where they slight Angel, that they don't slight even other black players that don't really talk and aren't as vocal as Angel. They give them more than they will give Angel, or do little things that will promote them more than the powers that be will promote Angel. So I'm thinking about that for this kid. Cause see, I didn't come up in the industry. Like I was in the game for a lot of years. I done seen a lot of things. I done seen the inequalities and, all the things. I've seen them. So the kid comes off the floor. She sits next to me on the bench and she's upset. She's emotional. She's not sure why coach took her out of the game, and she's frustrated. And all I can think about is that camera just following her and all in her face while she's like expressing all this emotion. And I've been in the game long enough to know that when black kids express just their sheer passion and their raw emotions in the moment, it's a lot of times looked at as negative. A lot of times that's looked at as attitude and disrespect and, but when a white kid will show their passion and their emotion and, get fired up, oh, they're competitors. They love the game. They're intense. It's just always been different. We're still dealing with that today. Like that's always been the kind of narrative that's played out. And so, of course, as a black woman, I'm thinking about this while she's over here like yelling, like, why y'all take me out of the game? Why I come out the game? So I take my hand and I put it gently on her knee and I'm like, it's all right. Coach probably going to put you back in the game. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Coach is going to put you back in the game. She continues, but leans forward now trying to talk to the coach beside me and says, Coach so-and-so, why coach take me out of the game? I ain't the only one out there making mistakes. And I put my hand back on her and I'm like, it's all right. I said, we're going to have a time out here in a minute. We'll talk about it. We're going to get you back in the game. Just take a breath, get you some water or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember all that I'm saying to her, but I'm really calm because I'm trying to calm her down and I'm trying to just say it like very calmly, like, just touch her. And so she starts up again. And I said, she starts up again and she's like, kind of just mouthing and saying some stuff. And so I said to her a third time, I was like, baby girl, we gonna put you back in the game. It's okay. Like, it's a lot of time in the game. Like, I don't know why coach took you out of the game, but I know coach gonna get you back in the game first opportunity. Again, I can't really remember all the things that I'm saying, but I'm still not animated. I'm still not emotional because I'm trying to talk with a tone that's gonna bring her down and, not put no negative light on her. And the kid, after I said it the third time, says, I ain't talking to you, Reeves. I'm talking to so-and-so, Coach so-and-so. And so now the mom in me rises up. Because keep in mind, I've raised 2 children. I'm a single parent, a divorced single mom out here raising my children in a very hectic career and doing it well. And not on no day would my kids ever, if an adult asked them to do anything 3 times, ever respond to an adult like that because they know their mom and they know I wouldn't even want nobody to call her and tell her that. I even did that because I already know she finna get into me. So I'm raising kids, okay? I'm not out here, coaching and I've never parented a child. I don't know. I'm raising them right now. They were teenagers. My kids were teenagers at this time, like this young student athlete was as well. So after her response to me is, I ain't talking to you, Reeves. I'm talking to Coach so-and-so. I put my hand over my mouth and I looked and I said, shut the fuck up. And all hell broke loose. Now I know some of y'all are saying, you just should have left her alone. You just should have ignored her. You just should have shoulda, woulda, coulda. And some of what y'all are saying is probably true. But you have to understand that I'm a black woman, and I know a lot of black women who going to listen to this going to be like, and I still would have just ignored her. I'd have just let her sit there and make a fool of herself. A lot of us are going to say a lot of different things because black people, we all don't think alike. We shouldn't, but because I do care, and I do care deep, I just didn't want that for her. I just didn't. And that's why I kept my responses to her calm, because I was hoping that my calmness would calm her down. But her emotions were too high in that moment. And I'm not villainizing this kid. Her emotions were high at the moment. It was a big game. She felt like she shouldn't have come out at that time. And I'm thinking something completely different. Like, the camera is probably on you, and I don't want them to catch you in no negative light and try to make a demon out of you with a kid with a negative attitude just because you are emotional right now. I've been where you at. I didn't play college basketball. I didn't had these moments where I'm feeling away. So I was completely vilified for that. Now, a lot of people listening to this going to say, like I would say, because I'm going to tell you, and I spoke to that kid's mom, and the mom did share with me that you shouldn't have had to tell her 3 times to let it go. She said, but I don't appreciate you telling my daughter to shut the fuck up. And I told her, and I get that 100%. Like, I do. Like, that is not my best moment. Like, I probably should have, after she said that, I should have just sat there and not said anything. But again, like I said, the mother in me rose up because I raised my son and daughter to respect adults. I've always told them that you have a right to speak up for yourself, to defend yourself, respectfully when dealing with an adult. If something's being said about you that's not true, or you're being accused of something that you didn't do, or a situation requires conversation, you always have a right to speak up for yourself respectfully. But if the situation ever gets out of hand and an adult is just being egregiously wrong towards you to the point that your response would require you, my son or daughter, to have to respond in a way that would head toward the disrespect route, disengage and call me. I didn't ever want to see a situation where my son or daughter engaged in something with an adult, a teacher, or an adult of another situation, and now it's their word against my kid's word. So my kids always knew to reach out to me if it was something egregious. But my kids also know, and I shared this story with them the day that it happened because I was just so hurt and upset with myself that I let the mom in me pop out. And I'm not making excuses. Oh, well, she wants to say it was the mom in her. Yes, it was. And I'm going to explain why. I shared this story with my children, and I told them what happened because they, knew that I was really upset because I really liked this kid. I mean, beautiful girl, so talented. She was funny. She was well liked. Like, I liked her. And I hate that it hurt our relationship. That moment hurt our relationship. And I shared it with my kids. And my kids, teenagers at that time, turned around and said to me, Mom, if that had have been one of us and one of our coaches had to tell us something 3 times and we wouldn't listen to them to the point that the coach had to tell one of us to shut the fuck up, my kids were like, we wouldn't even want them to call you because we would already know that they had to tell us 3 times. And the fact that an adult had to tell us something 3 times and that adult was saying it respectfully, kindly, and one of us was just tripping and got told shut the fuck up. We no, you not taking our side, Mom. Like, you wouldn't have liked for the coach to tell us shut the fuck up. But the mere fact that we wouldn't respond and respect what our coach was asking us to do in that moment, you would have been like, hey, y'all bought that one. Next time you need to be respectful. If a coach is asking you to do something and they're trying to look out for you, then you might want to just receive it and shut the fuck up. And that's what I would have said to my children. So many of you are probably wondering, so why did she tell us this story? Because most of my life I have dealt with not feeling liked, mostly because I speak up, mostly because I stand up for myself, mostly because when other people will be quiet and see something that's wrong and not say it, I'm probably going to be the one that's over there shaking my leg, telling myself to be quiet, but my mouth is going to open and speak. And it has cost me. And I understand that it has cost me. And there's a couple of reasons why I'm sharing this story. Some of the people that I worked around took that moment to vilify me in a deep way. And it was no way that I could articulate, because I really didn't have anybody around me at that time that I felt like really had my back or was in my corner. And so I walked away from that with a relationship that was no longer the same with a kid that I really liked. Put myself in a position where I allowed other people to build a narrative about me that they were content and determined to build. And in my heart, all I knew is that I was just trying to really look out for another black woman. And I walked away from that feeling like, if I'm going to survive in this environment, not only can I really not try to go out of my way to protect you, you don't even know you need the protection. I'm saying all of this, and I shared that story to say this. I had a former student athlete reach out to me the other day because she was dealing with something, and she said, Coach Reaves, I'm calling you because I know you're going to tell me the truth. And we all need people that's going to tell us the truth. And it may not come in the package that we always want to hear it in, like how Amanda Seales says it, or Brittany Packnett Cunningham says it, or Tiffany Cross says it. It may not come in a package that we like, in a way that always makes us feel comfortable and fuzzy. But is the work going to help someone? Is the work going to educate someone? Is the work going to inspire change in someone? Is what we really should be asking ourselves. We need our table shakers. And we need to understand that we need our table shakers, because a lot of y'all who are going to listen to this episode know good and well you ain't a table shaker and you ain't never going to be one. And so if we're relying on you in the black community to push the needle forward, to make things better for the people that's coming behind, we can't really count on you. Because maybe right now, for whatever reason, you just got to get it out the mud for you and your family so that the next generation can be a little freer to express themselves and say the things that they need to say. And if that's the case, I get that and I respect that. But at the end of the day, we got to really examine ourselves. And this is just my opinion. Obviously, this is my podcast, so I get to say how I feel and express my feelings. And I'm open to hear what other people have to say after you listen to this episode. But in my opinion, we have to support our truth tellers, regardless of how they're giving the truth. Because if we look at it deeper and we analyze the why this person would be going about it this way, maybe we could actually see the humanity in that person, or the desire inside of that person to see things be different for the people coming behind them. And in their hearts, this is the way that they got to do it to justify it within themselves. And if it's going to benefit those coming behind, then for those of us who ain't going to say nothing, and we not shaking no tables and out here telling no truths, we going to keep quiet and turn our back to bad situations. Get out of the way and stop judging and stop piling on. Bring those people into the circle when you can, and let them know, hey, I might not be able to say things the way you say it, but I support what you do. And at this event, I want you to be present, because your presence needs to be here, because you advocate for us, because you go hard for us, because you care about what's coming down the pipes for us, and what this next generation may or may not have to deal with. A lot of people didn't like Martin Luther King. A lot of people didn't like Malcolm X back in the day. A lot of people threatened to kill Rosa Parks just because she refused to get up out of her seat. She received death threats for a lot of years of her life, way past the civil rights movement. But if those people hadn't have shaken the table and decided, well, I could sit here and be quiet because, Martin, he got a nice life as the pastor of the church that he was pastoring, took it over after his dad and had a beautiful wife and they got some beautiful babies. But inside that brother's heart, the injustice and the inequalities of his people bothered him to the degree that he had to open his mouth to speak, to bring about change. He used what God gave him, which was his ability to connect through words, and spoke truth to power for the evolvement of the Black community. And he was not liked all the time and by everybody. And a lot of Black people did not like Martin Luther King. But today, we all celebrate him. Okay, so let's circle back to, so now I want to circle back to the end and the point. I want to circle back to the beginning of this. Okay, so now I want to circle back to the beginning of this episode and the whole point of it. In Amanda Seales' comments, because I want to go back to that, because I'm going to tie in all of the people in Amanda universe, like the Tamikas, the Angela Rise, all of those people that I mentioned earlier in the episode, and the whole being liked situation and how we treat people based on how we like them. Okay. So when Amanda had made her comment about feeling left out, Essence magazine went into the comments and was like, hey, sis, we see you. We love you. We heard you. We'll do better moving forward. Okay. So seemingly, everybody's liking that post because we're like, okay, like Essence, come through. Like, this sister, she deserves to be in these spaces, right? Well, then a few days later, Essence magazine allows an outside writer to come in and write an op-ed. And the title of the op-ed said, I think it's time that we admit that being liked is more important than being talented. And I couldn't believe that on one hand, Essence would go and comment and say, yeah, we fallen short. Like, sis, you should be invited. You should be in these spaces and we're going to do better. And then allow someone to come in and kind of like tear down the comment that you just made. And you allowed someone outside to do it, I guess, Essence, because you didn't want for it to look like y'all were reneging on what you said. But let me just say this on a deeper level that I'm not really sure that we see. That whole narrative of it's more important to be liked than be talented, to me, screams, if we can control you, we'll promote you. If we feel comfortable that you're not going to go out here and call us up or call us out, or maybe challenge the injustices that you see functioning in your own environment where you work or wherever that you're being promoted or exalted, then we'll bring you in. But for those of you who may be extremely talented and you deserve this opportunity, but you're a little too vocal, and these people kind of said this about you, and these people kind of said that about you, and like, my personal experience with you has been great, but so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that, and you're just taking words. And, we love that saying that, well, if it's more than one person saying it, it must be true. Well, I just told y'all, we have a whole thing in society where we're group thinkers. We don't even question whether it's a lie. If it's a lot of people saying it is true, we carry that to our graves, right? We stand 10 toes down on that saying. If that's how we're going to move, those of you who are in the well-liked category and you got all your opportunities and you feeling like you doing it right and all those things, like, God bless that. Like, nobody is upset, nobody is mad, nobody is hating on you. You holding us up in another area. Your pillars matter too. What you bring into the community matters because you putting us out there. And when you're successful, you open eyes that, you know what, maybe more of them can be successful too. But understand that everybody's blood and everybody's spirit in your culture and community don't beat that way. So we need the people out here. We need those people out here in the world that's shaking tables, ruffling feathers, calling out, calling up, educating, speaking upset, speaking with passion, speaking with love, organizing, protesting, challenging the law, holding the law accountable, all the things, all the things. We need those people too. And all the things that need to be called out there. And move past your need to like them. Because if you're over here in the liked category, hey, okay, great for you. But I don't know how much you moving the needle in anything in life, because I just don't know. You may be, I don't know. I don't know how much you're moving the needle for everybody in our community. And I know I have more listeners on this show than just Black people, but I'm primarily talking to us today on this episode. Support. Stop tearing down. Stop tearing down people. Stop tearing down people like Amanda, people like Tamika, people like Monique, people like Tiffany Cross, people like Joy Reid, Angela Rye. Stop tearing these other sisters down because you don't like their delivery. Oh, well, she thinks she's this or she thinks she's that. These people are needed, just like Martin was needed. Rosa was needed. Everybody got a role to play out here in society. And we need to move past the whole like versus talent thing because, you know, a lot of people with opportunities out here, you wasn't the most talented, and you know you wasn't the most talented, but you know how to play the people game. That's wisdom. That's wise. Like I said, your pillars stand in the community as well. But recognize your pillars ain't the only ones that need to stand for our community overall to be great. Because we're all needed. We're all needed. This episode is dedicated to Amanda Seals, Brittany Packnett Cunningham, Tamika Mallory, Monique, Taraji P. Henson, Viola Davis, Dr. Rayshawn Ray, Tiffany Cross, Angela Rye, and our good sister Joy Reid. I'll see you next time on a new episode of These Three Things podcast.